Hello, Brian Musner here, franchise consultant with Mr. Handyman. Today I want to give you a little brief tutorial and overview of the settings in ServiceTitan. In the settings, you're able to manage anything from your account, from the employee profile to communications and integrations. You also have the ability to go through all of your price book pieces. So there's a lot of nice features in the settings that will be important to you while you're set up your business. So the first thing I want to show you is how to get to the settings from ServiceTitan. When you log in, up towards the top right, you'll see the widget next to the main menu icon over here. You'll click that settings widget. That will take you to all the settings for ServiceTitan. You can see all the different features and options that are there on the sidebar menu to the left. You have the ability to search through the sidebar menu to search for a specific setting. You also have the ability to, once you select and expand one of the main categories, you have the ability to bookmark certain settings. So as you start to work through some of the ones that you constantly are using in the settings, whether it's price book is a very popular one that you may go and make adjustments and tweaks to, the different communications. As you do those things, you may want to bookmark certain sub-menus so that it's easily accessible when you go into your settings page. So let's take a look at your different settings here, and this is a demo account, so there might be a few setting features in here that I will not discuss today, more so that are in your actual owner account. But I want to just kind of give you guys an overview, take a little bit of time today to just explain some of the basics, 30,000 foot view of the different settings and what things you may do inside of those settings. So your company profile will be the first one you'll see here. Well, the billing and the company profile under your account. So the billing is the area where you will put in your credit card so that ServiceTitan can automatically deduct the charges from your balance. This will also give you the ability to see what services you have signed up for. So in this particular example, we have 5 technician users. We have 8 office users. We're also paying for 3 regular phone numbers and a toll-free number. It'll give you your breakdown of the services that you're currently signed up for. You'll also have the ability to see the invoices, the charges for the invoices, and you could drill in further into the individual invoice and see what charges those are. So as you have questions about, a $50 charge coming off of your credit card for ServiceTitan for the month, you can see and allocate what those charges may be for different features that you have purchased. The company profile is really just simply that. It's a small introduction to the company, basic information, nothing that you'll actually use a whole ton about, but you'll just, as you set it up, you'll have your information stored in there. So that's just a quick overview on the account section. People, now this is where you're going to manage both of your employee and technicians. As you add a new employee or as you deactivate an employee from the system, you'll do those 2 pieces here. So we'll take a quicker look at, or longer look, I should say, at the employee section. And so you can see as the employees are the office people, the technicians are the people in the field. So from an employee standpoint, we've got a number of employees listed here. On the far right, you can see that each one of them you're able to edit and change. As you do that, there's a profile page on the actual employee, and there is a permissions tab. The permissions tab will allow you individually, based on each employee you put in the system, check and uncheck permissions you want them to have access to. So further down the road here, as we look through the different sections, there is a permissions section which allows you to globally manage both the employees and the technicians. This is on an individual basis. So if you have one employee or one technician that you want to have some special feature access to something specific, you can do that for that particular individual. Technicians, again, are the same. You'll notice as well, main basic pieces about each technician on the overview and the ability to edit each specific technician. To add or activate or deactivate, you're going to use these three up here for both employees and technicians. So if you had a new employee, you would click here. If you want to deactivate somebody, you would check the box and click deactivate. You would do the same thing if you wanted to activate them. Again, you can manage both the permissions on a global level for every employee you have in your business, and you can manage them in the people section on an individual basis. Let's take a look at the integrations section. And there's a decent amount of integrations here. We'll start with alerts. And this just gives you the ability to set up alerts in your system. So as certain things happen, you can be notified and made aware of those different items. The one example at the top you can see here is an alert. Is we added an alert so that every time you try to send an email to a customer, if the email address bounces, these recipients then get an email alert saying, we sent an email to this customer, however, it did not go through, and it notifies us as an office staff member to have to go back and communicate to that customer to find out what the valid email address is. Maybe we fat-fingered a letter. So again, there are other opportunities and options to add other alerts, whether it's canceled jobs, sold estimates, but this is where you'll manage the alerts. GPS integration is twofold. There's an opportunity to add your native GPS, which would be your iPads. So my recommendation would be to add your iPads into ServiceTitan as a form of GPS tracking. So you'll have a track on where those iPads are, and when those iPads are moving, and the technicians are generally with them. Close that out real quick. Sorry about that. You also have the ability to integrate your GPS with whatever GPS provider that you currently are utilizing. So there are many offices that also integrate their GPS into ServiceTitan. You cannot integrate both your iPads and your GPS, so you'd have to make the decision of which one you want to do. We do have plenty of offices that manage their GPS integration through whatever GPS service they utilize on their own platform and their own site. So it only makes sense at that point then to integrate your iPad, so you can track your iPads on ServiceTitan, and then you track your vehicles in whatever fleet GPS system that you use. Your mobile integration really just manages all the filters allowed for technicians in the field. You can see that there's the options during the job filter to choose what kind of jobs and schedule you want your technicians to view, if it's current day only, if it's next day and the current day, if it's every day and everything they have scheduled on their system. So you have the ability to do that to decide what kind of schedule you want your technicians to view. Down below, you also have the options to manage the actual data access points, and those are all the different pieces that are available to the technician on the iPad for the viewing of the customer. So in this particular situation, we've got all the data access points allowed, but you may not want your technicians to see customer phone numbers or customer emails or location phone numbers. And if you did that, you would globally uncheck those boxes and save those, thus not allowing the technicians to see certain things in the field. Your phone integration is where you will have the ability to manage and track different campaign numbers in ServiceTitan and have all your phones integrated in through ServiceTitan. So as you can purchase numbers in ServiceTitan, which will allow you to track certain campaigns that you are doing from a marketing standpoint. And in doing so, you will associate a different number with a different campaign. QuickBooks Online is very simply where you will go to integrate your QuickBooks Online account within ServiceTitan. When those two are talking to one another, as you batch post and export your invoices and payments, those will then be easily connected to QuickBooks, and you'll have the ability then at that point to see the same customer and record and payment information in QuickBooks and finish it up on that side. The next section we're going to take a look at is the communication section. And the main piece in the communication section that will be important for you as a business owner to manage is the customer notifications. So the customer communication feature in ServiceTitan allows you to send automatic booking confirmations by text and email, appointment reminder notifications by text or email, and dispatch notifications by text or email. So, some of these communication pieces will definitely help provide a modern day service experience, increase the office efficiency, and really just provide that extra level of customer service that we're striving to achieve with each and every customer. As you can see by the example here, you're able to select some of those to be text message or email or both, depending on what your choice is in your business. Just be aware that there are text message rates when you do the text messaging. There are no rate charges for the email. As you are creating those communications, you have the ability to turn off commercial communications up here with this widget. You also have the ability, when you're going into the different notifications, to customize them so that you can have them say as little or as much in detail as you want towards the customer when the communication piece is going out. So just realize they are customizable, and there are some dynamic menu items, like as you can see here in the blue, that as you customize your actual message, those pieces then to the customer will be dynamic from a standpoint that whatever the customer name is for this job and invoice will automatically populate into the message, or the job date. So some of those things are going to populate for them automatically, so you don't have to do that every single time. All right, the next settings menu section we're going to look at is the operations section. You're going to have a lot of different pieces here in the operations section that you, especially doing in the beginning as you're setting up your business, will put some time and energy into creating to ensure that you have your software and your program set up. So I won't go into great detail here, but you'll have your ability to manage your business hours, the business units, just some of those. Once you set them once in the beginning, you're going to be pretty much good to go. Call reasons. Call reasons is an important one. As you're trying to track a close rate and understand why we are not closing calls and leads, you have the ability to then track the lead, give it a call reason, which will then distinguish if that lead is either a lead or not a lead. You will have a stock number of these call reasons that will be pre-populated into your account, which you may find the opportunity to add one or two based on what is already there for you. And the important thing with the call reasons is to distinguish whether it was a lead, whether it was true or false. As we look at these examples, someone that calls that you don't have availability for 2 weeks out, so they decide to go somewhere else or do something different. True, that is a lead, and unfortunately we couldn't close that lead, but it was an opportunity for us to potentially make a close. As opposed to you have a neighboring owner and someone calls into your office and you realize they're in the neighboring owner's territory, well then that's not a lead, that would be a false lead. So that would not impact your overall close rate when you take the roll up of the numbers at the end of the time frame you're looking at. So it's important when you're building out these call reasons that you establish if they are leads, and if they are, to make them as true, and if they are not an actual lead reason when you're doing it, then you would make those false. Campaigns. This is where you're going to manage all the marketing campaigns you create in ServiceTitan. Again, there will be a pre-populated number of campaigns for you. But one of the things that you're going to be able to do within those specific campaigns that are already pre-populated are put an advertised potential phone number in there if you have purchased a campaign number, as well as manage the cost of those different campaign sources, allowing you in the reporting section of campaign reports to get a true ROI of what you're spending for a particular lead in the course of a month, and what you're getting back in revenue from that same lead. So you'll manage your campaigns here. You may deactivate some if you find that you have too many and you don't want a full list for your CSRs to choose from. You may add other campaigns that you do on a local level that you created a one-off flyer or promotional thing that you want to track specifically. This is where you'll add those advertised phone numbers that you may purchase in ServiceTitan to track a specific campaign. And you'll also be able to have the ability, again, to add the dollar amount for spend of those different campaigns so you can get a true tracking of your ROI. Next, we'll look at cancel and hold reasons. And these are really just for those occasional jobs that you cancel potentially, or you put on hold because you are waiting for parts, or you go out to a customer's home and they forgot the scheduled appointment was that day, and so you had to either cancel it because they've chosen to do something else, or put it on hold because they are doing it at a later date. So again, these things will be pre-populated for you. You'll probably have everything you need, but you can add them here, deactivate them, and make adjustments to those different reasons. Content portal is really just gives you the ability as a owner, as an office, to communicate messages, revenue information, cheat sheets, manuals, potentially coupons to your technicians on the iPad in the field. So you'll have the ability to add different documentation to a certain technician or to all technicians' iPads, so that when they open up their iPad, there's a content portal section as well in the mobile platform, which allows them to review, again, cheat sheets. Maybe you're sharing Listen 360 results with them individually in the feedback, whatever those pieces are. It helps with the communication from the office to the technician, and that lives in the content portal. If you want to create some estimate templates, you can do that. This just gives you the ability as a technician, when you're in the field on the iPad, to start with a set template that you've created in the office to help guide them towards building an estimate in the field. Forms will be an opportunity for you as an owner in the office to communicate and have some forms available and ready for technicians in the field on the iPad as well. You can see some of the examples here where maybe you have different measurement guides for windows or doors that you want them to fill out. They can make those things happen right on the iPad in the form section. Maybe you want a service checklist or an NSP approval form. Those pieces, as you create them in the office in the form section, will then have the ability to live in the field for the technicians to complete. Once doing so, those forms then are saved to the job in the customer record, and you have the ability to email them to the customer. So again, going away from the paper in the past to the paperless system on the iPad, it gives you the ability to collect some of this data and information. We'll go down to job types. These are the main job types that you'll have pre-populated in your system. There's going to be about 24 of them. You can see the job type comes with a 4-digit workers' comp code as well next to it. Inside the job types, you have the ability to set up defaults. So if I edit the appliance work here, there's default services at the top. This gives you the ability to pre-populate some defaults on an invoice whenever you book a job type like appliance work. So in this particular instance, every time we book an appliance work job, you'll automatically have a van stock default charge show up on the invoice. This just assures that the technicians aren't missing some of the steps along the way on the invoice. So, we recommend a lot of defaults, from service charges to van stocks to equipment rentals to disposal fees, based on what particular job types you may actually schedule for a technician. Permissions, again, as we talked about earlier, these are the global view of the employee and the technician and the permission settings. So here are the 4, in this particular account, the 4 employee different jobs, types, roles, and the 2 technician roles. So you can set up a base technician role for all technicians when you select that as their job. And then again, individually in the employee section, the people section, you can then make adjustments on the permissions on an individual level. So this manages the global level. The individual employee level will trump the global level if you choose to select certain things for individual employees. So just recognize that. Tag types give you the ability to view on the dashboard, view on the iPad, fairly quickly some things that are significant and specific to that particular job, customer, or location that you have scheduled. So looking at the green box down here for confirmation calls made, as a CSR, once I'm calling the day before to schedule and make sure that those customers are aware they're scheduled the following day, I can then go ahead and add that green tag type on the schedule so that I can see that on the dispatch board as the CSR, knowing that I've already made those confirmation calls. So you have the ability to have color-coded different tag types to allow you to get a little more clarity on specifics of, again, the job, the customer, or potentially as well the location. The last little section we'll take a look at real quick in the zones, or in the operations are zones. This just gives you the ability in ServiceTitan to take your territory and the area you service and create zones to represent in the schedule on the dispatch board and potentially by technician what zones they are currently working in or what zones customers' locations are in. So if you have a large enough territory, you want to separate the south from the north and the east from the west, you can create 4 zones. And then as customers' jobs are being booked on the dispatch board, you have a visible marking for each zone by color of where the technicians' jobs are, where the customers' locations are, and you can manage that scheduling board much more efficiently. All right, so the last section we'll take a look at here is invoicing. And really, there's only a couple main pieces in the invoicing section that are really impactful. One of them is the price book. Within the price book, you have the ability to add categories. You have the ability to add services. You'll pre-set up your services in ServiceTitan for your hourly rate and your service charge. But you'll always have things that may come up. Maybe you want to add a helper rate. Maybe you want to add a different discount or coupon you're utilizing in the field for a promotion you're doing. You may want to also add subcontractors, services, and things of that nature. So this is where you're going to add all of those services. And when you add a service, and we'll take a look at the $25 off coupon for an example, you'll see that the code, the name, and the item description are consistently the same. You always want to make sure so that there's a price there. And one of the most important pieces is the actual GL account. So making sure that it's getting tracked to the same account as other things of similar like nature. So if you wanted to create a new coupon, my recommendation would be to go to an old coupon that you already have currently in there, see how it's mapped out in ServiceTitan from a price standpoint, from a GL account standpoint, and then just mirror that when you're creating a new one. Your franchise consultant can obviously assist you in all these pieces, but if you're looking to do some of that stuff on your own, I would always recommend just going off of something that's similar in your price book already when you're recreating something new. Another piece is the materials, and the materials is where you're really going to manage your markups for both of your van stock and your purchase orders. So your purchase orders are going to be all those items you buy from a receipt standpoint that will be managed on a particular job or particular invoice. Technicians working, realize they need to order or need to buy a couple things specific to the job. They go out to Home Depot, they come back, those items on that receipt, once plugged into the iPad, will be marked up a percentage based on what you have in your system. So this is where you create your markup table for your purchase orders. You also have the ability to mark up your van stock. In this particular example, we have everything that you bring in from van stock material, just have a 20% markup. Now our overall goal is to be a little bit higher than 20%, right, from a markup standpoint, but this is just an example in our demo account. We're then going to also look at the vendors in the invoicing section. This is where you would add a new vendor that you bring into your business. So, you know, you have the Home Depots and the Lowe's, but maybe you have a local supply house that you use for electrical items or plumbing items, and your technicians are going out to the field and buying those items for specific jobs. You'd want that to be an option as a purchase order when the technician puts the purchase order into the iPad. So you would add that vendor into ServiceTitan so that when they go to purchase something, they have that option to choose as a drop down when they are putting the receipt in to give the customer. A few quick tidbits on tools. This is where you have the ability to merge any locations, any customers. So if you've duplicated customers, which you spelled one wrong by one letter, or you have two different locations on two different customers that you want to merge together, you also have the ability to import and export your price book and other pieces. When you're doing some of these things down here in this section, I would definitely reach out to your franchise consultant just to make sure that we are doing things the right way. They're pretty self-explanatory and easy, but importing and exporting the price book can be a little bit more challenging. What that will do, though, will alleviate you from going into the price book section and changing everything one by one. You have the ability to export an Excel document, change the prices in ServiceTitan, import that document back into ServiceTitan, and change your price book without too much time taken up in your day. Again, with all the setting features and other pieces that you utilize and questions you may have, you know, always feel free to reach out to your franchise consultant for assistance. And thank you very much for attending the webinar. Have a good day.